Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining our webinar series together in collaboration with the YPO Mosaic and YPO Jewish Group. My name is Adva Oren, and I'm Tau Orion Global Leadership Community. And I would like to invite Nirit Aral from YPO Jewish Group to open the webinar series. Thank you.
Thank you, Adva. For those of you who don't already know me, my name is Nirit Harel. I'm a member of YPO Israel, YPO Portugal, and YPO Angelino, and also the founder of the 1,800 family strong YPO Jewish community, otherwise known as Tribe. I also happen to be a very proud alum of Tel Aviv University, so all of my worlds are colliding in the best possible way. It's a great pleasure to welcome you to the second season of the Tribe and Mosaic joint webinar series with our amazing partners at Tel Aviv University. For those who don't already know, in fact, Tel Aviv University is also the academic partner of the award-winning Israel Innovation Journey, our Iron Nation delegation, which has just been rescheduled to November 16th to the 21st. So please stay tuned and come and hear more from our amazing resources. We hope that some of you will join us. This webinar will be recorded and will last approximately an hour with a 50-minute presentation from Dr. Tzezana, followed by a 10-minute Q&A. So I do invite you to please enter your questions into the chat box so that we can make sure to answer as many of those as possible. So with no further ado, Dr. Roey Tzezana is a fellow at the Yuval Ne'eman Workshop for Science, Technology, and Security. He lectures at the Technion, where he also holds BS in biology, a master's and a PhD in nanotechnology from the Technion. His research is focused on identifying and analyzing emerging and disruptive technologies and on their impact on society, held in collaboration with the EU, the Israeli government, and private companies. Dr. Tzezana is a popular lecturer on future and technology. He's the academic manager of the course Breakthrough Technologies at Hebrew University. He's constantly advancing awareness to science and technology with his columns in popular and scientific magazines. He has a blog that's called Mada Acher, Different Science, and on his Facebook pages as well. His first book, Hamadrich La'atid, The Guide to the Future, has been released or was released at the end of 2013 and has garnered widespread discourse and attention. We're so proud to have you with us, Doctor, and I'll pass it on to you.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Nirit, for the beautiful introduction. So again, thank you so much for inviting me and for the introduction. It's great to be here. I hope that we'll get to finish this lecture with no sirens and no missiles. You never know in these days. But let's start and see how it goes. So I want to talk with you today about artificial intelligence, about trends, about truths, about where we're actually heading and what might happen to us on our way there. But I want to start with a pop quiz, and let me assure you that nobody is going to fail in that quiz. We're not handing out any grades. So when we look at technologies from the past, for example, the phone, we see that it took the telephone around 75 years to reach 50 million users. The radio took around 38 years. The TV took around 13 years to reach 50 million users. The internet took 4 years, the smartphones 3 years. And now for the question for you guys, and I'm talking to all of you watching the lecture right now, how long did it take ChatGPT to reach 50 million users? Are we talking about 1 day, 1 month, or 1 year? So you have the chat open in front of you, and I encourage you to type your answers. You can pick one of these options. Or if you're really imaginative, you can even write one of your own, a new answer of your own. So I'm going to give you a few seconds to do that. Oh, Stanislav, wonderful. So 1 month, says Stanislav. Anyone else? Okay, Hillel. Hi, Hillel. Also says 1 month. Okay, so you guys know your business. So it hasn't taken 1 year. That's way too long. Neither has it taken 1 day. 1 month is the length of time that it took. So that's 33 times as more rapidly than what it took the smartphones to reach 50 million users. And how many weekly users does ChatGPT have today? 100 million, 400 million, 900 million? Let me cut to the chase, 900 million. And that's more than 10% of the world population. So it means that in just 3.5 years or so, ChatGPT has reached more than 10% of the world population, including babies, including the elderly, everyone. Now, why is it gotten to everyone? So here's another question. What grade has ChatGPT obtained the uniform bar exam? Has it reached the bottom decile? Has it reached 50-50? Is it in the middle? Or has it reached the top decile? So when I ask people today about this, they immediately say, obviously, it has reached the top decile. But then we look at where things actually were, and not today, but 3.5 years ago, when ChatGPT was just released to the public. Back at the time, it was called ChatGPT 3.5, and you can see the benchmarks. You can see its grades here. So you can see that in the GRE, in the verbal part of the GRE, it got to the 63rd place. When it comes to evidence-based reading and writing in the SAT, it got to the 87th place. It surpassed more than 87% of the people who took the test. And when we look at the uniform bar exam, we see that it's actually at the bottom decile. So what happened here? Well, it turns out that just 4 months after ChatGPT 3.5, it got upgraded to ChatGPT 4.0. And then suddenly its grades in the verbal part of the GRE, it rose to the top 1% of its class. In the SAT, it rose to the top 7% of its class. And in the uniform bar exam, it rose all of a sudden to the top decile in just 4 months. And the same happened for math, for biology, statistics, and so on, and so on, and so on. So that's the new pace of change that we're talking about. Every 4 months, everything changes. Every 4 months, AI can go from zero to hero, sometimes literally. And we're seeing the impact on the industry already. We're seeing, for example, when it comes to law, and we see that in a report that was released about almost a year ago in 2025, we see that 65% of legal officers who work with AI report that they have an improved work quality, that they enjoy improved client responsiveness, that they have increased work capacity, increased profitability, and so on, and so on, and so on. So we're already seeing that if you implement, if you integrate AI into your work, then it provides substantial benefits to whatever it is that you do. We can go on and look at other pieces of evidence about what happened to AI. In 2024, if we look at who gave better medical advice, it's pretty clear that AI surpassed general medical doctors when it comes to relatively simple questions. It even was less likely to cause harm than general medical doctors. Now, again, general medical doctors they only have 7 years of study under their belts. So they are not yet experts, real experts in what they do. And that's in 2024, AI still couldn't surpass the expert human medical doctors. But by mid-2025, we had Microsoft showing its new AI, where it essentially showed that its AI agent can surpass human medical experts. So not just general medical doctors, but also experts with more than 14 years of study and expertise. So, and that just happened in a single year, the leap from 2024 to 2025. What are going to be the grades of AI in medical, in healthcare today by the end of 2026? we're looking at what's happening with writing articles, and we're seeing that 50% of online articles have been written using AI in 2025. We're also seeing established authors confessing of having received aid from AI. So they received aid from AI on doing research and on outlining the plot, but they even received help from it in writing the actual book, the actual chapters. And the strange doesn't stop here, because we're even seeing that in some places, for example, in Peter's Chapel in Lucerne, the church has actually swapped out its priest and replaced it in the confessional booth with an avatar, an AI avatar, not of the priest, not of the saints, but of Jesus Christ himself, no less than that. So what's happening here? Where is all this taking us? I wanted to give you the outline of what's happening and to show you the trajectory of where we're actually heading. And to do that, I want to talk with you about several eras that we are going through. We all were born and lived most of our lives in the era of librarians. I'll explain in a second what it means. And we recently moved on to the era of artificial consultants, computerized consultants. In 2025, we moved to the era of AI agents, and we are soon going to move on to the age of AI executives, when AI can essentially do anything that a human being can do. And what does it mean recently or very soon? We don't know yet. It might take a year or two. It might take 5 or 10 years, probably not much more than that. But let's talk about the era of the librarians first. When I was a young boy and the teacher decided to punish me, she told me to do homework on the French Revolution. So, okay, I needed to learn about the French Revolution. There was no internet really yet, definitely not in our houses. So I had to go to the library. I went to the library, and the librarian, she didn't write the work for me. She didn't go through the literature for me. She didn't summarize it for me. She told me, go to that source, go to that encyclopedia, and then figure it out for yourself. That was the era of the librarians, when the librarian directed us to the sources. But we had to read those sources. We had to decide whether those sources actually meant anything substantial. We had to cross-link all the sources and references together and come out with a single final piece of knowledge that we created ourselves by writing it. Now, the largest librarian up to 3 years ago was Google, because 70% of web surfing began by conducting search, and Google sent us to the sources, to the websites where the information was. Today, that's no longer the case. But in the era of librarians, the skills that were valuable were discovering and locating the information and then consuming it, understanding it, ranking it, analyzing it, comparing it to other information pieces, and producing useful knowledge. I said that's no longer the case, and that is because in 2022, we entered the era of AI consultants, when people didn't just go to the sources, but they actually started to expect the AI to give you the answers, to actually look for itself in the sources, and then to come back with answers, answers for you. The only problem was that back in the end of 2022, the AI was really bad at this. It hallucinated quite a lot. It made a lot of mistakes, some of them silly, some of them even hazardous. You couldn't trust it, you couldn't rely on it. Even then, even at that time, people still approached the AI and asked it for advice, and we saw the impact on the labor market almost immediately. Now, it wasn't evident everywhere throughout all the job market, but it was quite evident in some professions, for example, in software development, which is very vulnerable to automation. And what we see here, this is a research by Brian Wolfson that was published back in 2025. And what we see here, we see the rise of the headcount over time for several different age groups. So we have the early career, 22 to 25 years old. We have the early career to number two, 26 to 30 years old. We have the seniors at 50 years old, and so on. And we can see that all of them rise through the years, no problem with that. But then we get to the November 2022, and suddenly things stay the same. Okay, so what happened here? But this graph is missing two colors now. It's missing the early career from between the ages 26 and 30 years old. And what you can see here is that for that age group, we don't need them as much as we used to, in software development at least. And for the youngest people in the job market, 22 to 25 years old, you can see the drop here. So a drop of 20% in just 3 years. And this trend seems to continue. We don't need the juniors as much as we used to, because even the nascent AI, the AI consultants, even though they made a lot of mistakes, they could still tackle jobs that don't require too much knowledge. And if you're an expert, if you're a senior, you could employ an AI consultant like that. You could tell it what you want. You need to really tell it what you want, and then it could do the job of an of a human junior for you. Now, those people who knew how to communicate with the AI and how to tell it what to do became big winners at the time. Some of them were also called prompt engineers, and that was the most needed skill out there in the job market. But in 2024 and 2025, things started to change because we moved to the era of AI agents. Let me show you what I mean by that. So I want to show you through a simple example. About a month ago, I visited Latin America and gave a lecture to the maritime shipping company Navios, and I wanted to generate a movie, a video clip for them. So I created a prompt, a very simple prompt, a commercial for Latin American Navios that is appealing, provocative, and witty. And I fed that prompt to an AI consultant, to primitive AI, a video generator that was launched a year and a half ago, back in the prehistory of AI, and here is what it created for me. So you can see it said Navio, appealing, provocative, laugh a lot. Okay, so obviously that's horrible. It absolutely did not understand what I really wanted. There is no, it's like it has no context here. And that's perfectly understandable, because if I really wanted a year and a half ago to get a good video clip from an AI consultant, I would have needed to really expand that prompt. I would have needed to tell it exactly what I need, what needs to happen in the first second, and the second second, and the third second, and so on. I needed to put in the provocation myself, to describe everything to it. I needed to be a prompt engineer. But in 2026, I could also feed the same prompt to an AI agent. And I fed it to OpenAI's Sora 2. And this is what I got.
Some call them containers. We call them treasure chests. Coffee from Bogota, mangoes from Chiapas, circuit boards from Sao Paulo, packed with sabor, son,
I
and
assume you
smarts.
didn't hear
We send
the
them out
sound,
with the rhythm of the
but
Americas
let
and the
me
people.
tell you that there was great sound, and there was music, and the narrator was really enthusiastic about Navios, and so on and so on and so on. A great script too. So what happened here? This is the work of an agent. And an agent has context. An agent can think, or at the very least can emulate symptomatically the intelligence of a human expert. That is because agents have an internal chain of thought, so they can conduct an internal monologue. And sometimes it's external too, because we can see it as well. And they use that monologue to figure out how to solve complex problems. So when they see a prompt like the one I gave Sora 2, immediately that agent tells itself that the user has no idea what to do, and they have no idea what they really want. And then the next thing that the agent tells itself is that, hey, I can help that human being, and I can use my own expertise to complete that prompt. So what happened was that the agent completed that prompt for me, recreated it, re-engineered it, and then it said to itself, I need to work with a narration service. So, and I need to create a prompt for that narration service so it knows what to do and what kind of voice to create for me. So it created a prompt, and voila, we have the narration. It created the script. It created the translation to Spanish, and so on, and so on, and so on. And then it even tested and checked its results to make sure that it got the result that I wanted. So it can even make some autonomous decisions about whether or not this is the kind of product that would serve the user right. And then at the very end, it delivers that product to me. So what really happens here is that I got served not by a single AI expert, but by a group, an entire team of AI experts. One of them has written the script, one of them has created the narration, another one has created several video clips and put them all together in a single go, and the fourth one edited and revised and criticized the entire thing, and so on. Essentially, I had an entire team of AI agents working for me, all within one single agent that I approached with that very simple prompt. So that's the difference between agents and consultants. Consultants are very generic. You know, they're like the big consulting firms that you ask them for advice, and they give you a graduate student or an undergrad that just finished his or her studies, and they just give you the same old spiel no matter the problem that you give them. But agents can actually consider new evidence, can actually think for themselves, and reach much more interesting, nuanced, and relevant and contextual conclusions that can actually help you as the individual or help you as the organization. And what we are seeing right now is that the winners in the industry are the ones who are daring to rebuild their organization with agents. And I want to give you just one example, because we don't have much time. And that example is of Virgin Voyages, an adults-only cruise. Let me tell you in advance, it's not adults-only, you know, in the naughty sense of the word, but in a much better sense of the word. It's actually without children. You're going on a cruise and no children are there. That's much better than the other adults-only cruise. Now, Virgin Voyages, since they are the newcomers in this market, they really had to dare greatly. And as a result, they dared to build and deploy more than 50 agents. Here's an example for one. It's called Gen AI. It's an agent that allows the users to create a video clip with Jennifer Lopez inviting their friends to the cruise. Let me show you what it looked like, unfortunately without sound.
Hi, it's me, Jennifer Lopez, Chief Celebration Officer of Virgin Voyages, here to invite you to celebrate.
So that's the video clip of the agent
or just generally being
that they released.
Really
essentially showing how people can tell Jennifer Lopez to invite their friends for them. It may be a little sleazy, unfortunately,
Why not celebrate
but
on
it
an
seems to have
award-winning voyage
worked.
with
And how do we know that it worked? We can look at other agents that they created, Email Ellie, that helped the marketing department there produce campaigns, and Vivi, which was a customer service agent. And how do we know that these agents work? Because we are seeing the results, and we are seeing that Gen AI alone drove more than 25,000 personalized bookings with more than 2 billion reactions on social media. And the email Ellie generated a 40% reduction in campaign workload and 20% 28% annual sales. And Vivi reduced the customer service escalations by 20%. So we are seeing agents working properly. Allegedly, admittedly, not in every company. In fact, many companies don't quite know yet how to deploy agents the correct way. Everybody's trying to figure that out. But it seems that those who do figure it out, they come out way ahead in the race, with productivity being improved by dozens of percents, and sometimes a year after year. And we're also seeing AI agents democratizing expertise, even in fields that in the past used to require a high level of expertise. Let me show you another video. This one is by Base 44, and this is one of the baseball commercials that they released about 3 months ago. Again, unfortunately, no sound. Um, sorry, and in Spanish, the subtitles are still in Spanish. But what we are saying here is essentially that people who don't know how to program, how to create software, how to create platforms, suddenly they get that power. Suddenly they have the power of an entire team of experts, of expert developers, and they can use that power to build their platforms, to build their apps, to build their software for every single little thing that they want to accomplish. And the leaders in the market, the executives already see this. So 77% of leaders in a survey conducted in 2025 by McKinsey say that the early the junior that gets into sorry, that gets the job, they will receive major responsibilities because of AI. And they also say that they are more likely to hire a less experienced candidate, but with more AI skills, than a more experienced candidate without AI skills. And 66% of leaders just say that they would not hire someone without AI skills. And it makes a lot of sense, because why would you hire a single person and pay the salary of that single person if you can hire a single person and pay them like a single person, but get the full power of an entire team of experts that works for you, of an entire department, sometimes an entire organization that works for you? And we're seeing that the AI native people, those who jump forward, and the early adopters and the makers who allow themselves to experiment with these technologies, we're seeing dramatic productivity boosts in their style of work. We're seeing a whole new style of work. For example, this post by Jim Prosser recently showed how he uses Claude Code as his chief of staff. And what happens there is that every morning the Claude Code goes over his calendar and over his email, and it synchronizes all the data so that by 6 a.m. he has a task system that is fully updated, and the agent starts actually telling Jim Prosser what to do through the day. And it categorizes the tasks by actionability. It figures out what kind of tasks it can handle on its own. It shows the user what kind of work the agents can do on their own and asks for permission for them to do it. And it executes some of the actions and so on and so on and so on and so on. And according to Mr. Prosser, this kind of assistant would have required him to pay hundreds of dollars in the past. Now it's essentially for free. And by the way, I liked it so much, this infographic, that I also told Notebook LM to create a new infographic for me, like a graphic designer that likes to work with clay and plastiline, and this is what it created. And then I said, hey, created in Lego, and this is what it created. I'm sorry, I'm just having so much fun working with all those experts that can do this kind of creative work for me. So if I conclude this part of the lecture, in the era of agents, every person is a team leader. Or let me say it more correctly. Every person who still wants to have a job, or at least an important job, they need to think as if they are a team leader. They need to understand that they are now leading a team of agents, and if they don't do that, then quite honestly, there is no place for them in a competitive labor market. And that will not happen only with programmers or with software developers or coders or graphic designers. It will happen with lawyers, legal experts, with accountants. It will happen with medical doctors as well. Every field. In every field, we're going to see people gaining the power of an entire team of experts. Now, what are the implications of that? And this is where I am going into complete guessing mode. Nobody knows. I'm reading the reports. Nobody knows quite yet what's happening and what's going to happen in the era of agents. Honestly, even sci-fi books are not, most of them aren't quite certain of what's going to happen. And neither are the books of the great economists. But here are some guesses of my own. We'll probably need more seniors. More people who know how to work, who know how to get the job done. But those people in the past, those seniors, they knew what they needed. So they knew that they needed this software. But then they had to wait for the IT to get them that software. And that could have taken weeks or even months or even years. They needed legal advice, but they needed to wait for a week or two until the legal department finally got to dealing with their issues. They needed some copywriting, but they had to wait for the marketing department to address those issues. Now, those seniors no longer have those problems. If a senior knows what he wants or what he or she wants, they can get it done in a few minutes, in a day. So in just a single day, they can do a project that used to take them a week or even a month. So that's a huge productivity boost that we are going to see coming from seniors, but only if they reinvent themselves. Only if they teach themselves how to work with those tools and how to get advice and get the product and the output from those agents. Now, if they do, if they don't, then they are probably going to fall into this category of the companies whose managers say that they are going to use AI to reduce headcount. If the seniors do that, and they do increase their productivity, then they are going to fall into the next category of those who use AI to reduce headcount but reward the top performers, the seniors that really make the breakthrough. And it's also possible, just so that you understand how much we don't know, but it's also possible, as 1/3 of managers say, that there is actually going to be a place for everyone as it used to be, because they are going to increase the headcount to support business needs. So maybe there is a place for everyone as well, even in the age of agents. We don't know yet exactly what's going to happen. The second implication is that new professions will arise. We're going to see agent trainers, and we are going to see agent etiquette trainers, and we are going to see humans who teach agents about philosophy and about social aspects of the work and so on. So these kinds of professions that it's difficult for us to even imagine them right now. Just as 20 years ago, I couldn't really have imagined a profession called app engineer or app developer. And now it's, well, it's all the rage. So it's very difficult for us to know which new professions will arise. The one thing we can be sure of is that some new professions will arise, and they will most likely involve both technical expertise and expertise in softer skills, what's known as softer skills, like understanding the other, sociology, psychology, and so on. And the third implication is that there is going to be a critical place for leaders and for HR and for coaches, because if you know how to lead other people and how to encourage other people and how to help other people become more audacious, become more energized, become more innovative, and so on, then that would have been great even in the past. But in the near future, if you can train one person to be more energetic and more innovative, then that energy and innovation is actually translated into a much more dramatic productivity boost, because that single person is a manager of an entire team of agents, and they can now get more work done from the entire team. So just a single coach, just by training a single person, can have an influence on an entire organization. And the next era is that of executives, of AI executives. What does it actually mean? Well, currently, we're in the age of AI agents when they can do a lot of work, and they can do it quite well usually, but they still make mistakes. Sometimes they even make embarrassing mistakes, sometimes very embarrassing mistakes. They still need someone to look after them. They still need human beings to be the orchestrators of all that agentic work. So you need the person in charge. But in the age of AI executives, that's when the AI agents become so much better that they essentially reach the level of a human being, of a human expert. And that means that they can do all of that work on their own. And that includes looking after themselves. And that also includes leading a company, managing a portfolio, doing everything at least in the digital world, without human supervision, at least as well as the human beings. Now, to be very clear, we're not there yet. But when are we going to get there? So what do the experts say? Dario Amodei said that it might happen by the end of 2026. I used to mock that prediction. I'm not mocking it anymore. I still don't think that's going to happen, but it's possible. Sam Altman said it's going to happen by 2028. Jensen Huang from NVIDIA, he said originally 2028. Recently, he also said 2026. Said that essentially we already have a nascent form of artificial general intelligence that can do everything already today. It's just not very good yet. But if you want it to be really good, it's going to be by 2028. Shane Legg said 2028. Ray Kurzweil, the futurist, said 2029. Jeffrey Hinton, 2030, 2025, and you see 2033, and 2060, 2080, and so on. So I look at all those forecasts, and the first thing that comes to my mind is that, hey, nobody really knows. But then well, after I say that, I go to some other studies, more quantitative studies. For example, this one by the METR Foundation, METR Foundation, where they did something quite clever. They took dozens of tasks and they checked how long it takes human beings to do each of those tasks, to do them successfully. And after they figured it out, so they said, okay, so we have a task that takes 2 seconds for a human being to accomplish. And we have another task, it takes 8 seconds, and another task takes 1 minute, and another task takes 1 hour, and so on. And then they moved back in time, and they tested old artificial intelligences, old large language models, on these tasks. So they saw that in the year 2020, there was GPT-3. It's even before ChatGPT. And that GPT-3 could only do tasks successfully that would have taken human beings 2 seconds to accomplish. If you gave it a task that would have taken human beings 3 seconds, that's where GPT completely failed. A year and a half later, we have GPT 3.5, ChatGPT 3.5 essentially, and that model could already do work that would have taken human beings 10 seconds to do. A year after that, we have GPT-4 Omni, and it can do work that would have taken human beings a single minute to perform. And the year after that, we have Claude 3.7 Sonnet, Claude 3.5 Sonnet, and GPT-01, and so on, and they can already do work that would have taken a human being 15 minutes to accomplish. Now, the important thing in this graph, in this research, is the doubling time. Because as you can see, the doubling time here is 213 days. That's approximately 7 months. And that means that every 7 months, if I'm being a little poetic, the AI doubles its capabilities. It can do twice as much work as it could be 7 months before that at a very high success rates. And that pace is quite dramatic on its own. But something very peculiar happened since the time when that study was published, because it was published in March 2025. That was a year ago, a year and a month ago. So the researchers wanted to see if the pace keeps up. And in January 2026, they took a look at the pace and they said, okay, if the pace continued as it used to, then we should be around here by January 2026. What actually happened was that the AI leapt upwards in capabilities, accelerated way past the doubling time of 7 months, and now it can do an entire hour of work, or to be more precise, in January 2026, it could do 1 hour at work. It moved twice as fast as was expected. So the new doubling time is actually 123 days. That's the actual current pace. If that pace keeps up, and nobody is quite sure if it keeps up or not, my belief, and even my strong belief, is that it will keep up. But it's not certain by any measure. But if it does keep up, then we're probably going to experience the future that Sequoia Capital is describing here in this table. And by the way, I really love this table because it was released in 2023, back when ChatGPT was an AI consultant and lied and hallucinated and fabricated information all throughout its answers. And even at that time, Sequoia Capital had already said that, guys, by 2025, it's going to write drafts of reports, of stories, short stories, that are better than the human average. And it completely, totally crushed that benchmark. I mean, today, it writes reports that are much, much better than the human average. And in 2020, it already started happening in 2025. By 2030, if Sequoia Capital's forecasts are correct, it's going to create drafts of reports, of books, of movie scripts that are better than those generated by a professional human writer. If you want the new book of Game of Thrones, the final book in Game of Thrones, you click on a button, you press on a button, and voila! An hour later, you get that book. And in 2030, it may still cost you $100, okay? But in 2031, it will cost $50. And 2032, they'll just beg you to take it because so many people are generating these kinds of books by that time. So that's going to happen to text. In 2030, in code, you want an app, you just have to tell the engine what you want. It can already make it happen and can do a better work than a full-time developer. We're already seeing this kind of thing in existence when it comes to Cloud Code and to Codex with GPT-5 5.4 with extended thinking. You tell it what you want and it creates the entire website, the entire platform for you. It takes an hour sometime or 2 hours, but it does the job. It's not perfect, but neither are full-time developers. But it will get even better. When it comes to images, you can get images, you can get brochures, you can get newspapers, you can get, you want a new video, you go on an airplane, you want to watch a new movie, the movie is being generated specifically for you with the actors that you like, the virtual actors that you like, script that you would that you feel attached to, and so on. And the same goes with 3D and with games. And the one question that people ask when they hear these forecasts is what's left for us to do in this future? So I asked Gemini, Nano Banana, to generate an image for me depicting an answer to that question. And it gave me this answer. So I told it to try again. It gave me this answer. I told it to try a third time. It gave me this answer. In the end, nobody knows. It's a great question, but nobody knows what's left for us to do in this future. Maybe people will be entrepreneurs. I fervently believe that that will be part of the answer. Many people will reinvent themselves, will invent new services, new ideas, new products, new forms of organizing, and will sell them to other people. Another part of the answer, probably, is that some personal services will flourish because people, we're social animals. We need the emotions, the emotional touch. We need the face-to-face. We need the deep look into one's eyes. We need the hug and the pat on the shoulder and the medical doctor saying with great confidence, trust me, you're going to live. So maybe personal services will flourish, but those who give those personal services will have to reinvent themselves as well. The human medical doctor will not be able to hide behind his computer anymore and not look directly at the patient. Neither will the lawyer be able to do any such thing. The intelligent part of the work will be done by the machines. The humans will provide the personal flourish and the flourishes and the personal touch. And we'll still need leaders and inspirers to take us through that time and to inspire us on our way into the future. Okay, I want to summarize everything. Now, I'm going to betray my role as a futurist. I'm not going to tell you to look far into the future, because if you do that, you're going to get dizzy, you're going to get panicky. Don't go there. Instead, focus on the here and now. In every task, experiment. See how AI can aid you in accomplishing that task. Invest in your soft skills. Continue to learn and to develop yourself. Develop motivation and curiosity, and make a habit for yourself. And this is an advice that I give 6 years olds, and they give 96 years olds, and they give everybody in between. Make yourself a habit, one independent project a month, and you will often find out that just by using the right tools, you can you can now do something that would have taken you a team of experts. You can now do it in a day or two, and that's it. So if I summarize it all in just 6 beautiful words, it's time to become children again, to try, to experiment, to run amok. Sometimes you'll fall. There is no kid without some scratches on their knees, but you'll get up and it's going to be a bright new world. And I want to conclude with, sorry, but one last slide. There recently, about a year ago, there came out a blog post by an ancient engineer, 65 years old or so. That's ancient, right? And he said he said in that blog post that he's noticed that he's no longer scared that projects will be too big or too complex because the AI can help him learn what he needs. And an experiment that he created in a weekend took him originally 6 weeks just a few years ago. And he finishes that post in saying something that I hear from many engineers, that he says that I'm now towards the end of my career, but I know that I could start it all again with a new insight and much bigger visions. And he says it feels like winning the lottery 2 weeks before you die, because I can do so much more now. And he concludes, it is an exciting time to be alive. I completely agree with that. I think we should all be excited about the times. And I cajole you to go out, experiment, have fun, try new things with AI, and to change the world with all the capabilities that are now in your hands. Thank you so much for listening to me. And if there are any questions, please write them in the chat, and I would love to answer to the best of my capabilities.
This was just fascinating, Roy.
Thank you.
It's very hard to ask tough questions about regulation and control and all of this stuff when you've inspired us so much to look at the creative side of all of this. Those things are always on my mind. This is incredibly fascinating and empowering.
Thank you.
I don't know if there are any other questions. I know that we're getting really close to the top of the hour. If anyone has a burning question. Do you have anything to say about those topics of regulation, and why do you think it is, Roy, that so many people seem to be worried about AI? Is it just not being familiar, or is it not being able to tell if something's real or not?
Yeah, so I think it's a complex issue, obviously. Some of it is because it encroaches on workplaces. And let's be honest here. I mean, graphic designers, artists, they are concerned. Writers, technical writers, the journalists, they are concerned as well. I can, concerned. Some of them are just panicked about AI. And quite honestly, I can fully understand them and relate to that, because I used to write a lot, still do write a lot, but I can already see on social networks that suddenly I am not so important anymore, right? A 16 years old boy can now, or a girl can now write just as well as I do. And I know exactly how they are doing that, because some of them have actually shown me that they are asking the AI to write like Dr. Roey Tzezana does, which is an odd kind of compliment. And you know, I am a little peeved at that. And at the same time, I am saying, wow, that's great. Because the world is now becoming full of people who can write like, I'm sorry, but like the
Well, they
best of
can,
the
but they
best.
can't, right? Right,
Well,
doctor?
in the
Because if
output,
you'd ask them to put a sentence together, will they still be able to do that?
so here's the thing, the output is good. The output is good, and sometimes, even if you don't know how to phrase a sentence yourself, you can still figure out if a sentence is good or not, if a story is good or not. And if you have that capability to correct and guide your agent, then hey, you get an output that's just as good as what I used to do. And I'm fine with that for society. I think that's great for society. I'm just not sure what is my place in that society, and I think many people are concerned about that. The thing that I don't like is that they try to reframe the issue as if they are concerned for society. Come on. I mean,
It's a
some of them really
reinvention
are
thing,
concerned
like
for
you said.
society,
They
but
all have to reinvent themselves, right?
exactly. I think it's more about what we feel about ourselves and not a bit about real concern for society. And I do see the same arguments arise from the age of the Gutenberg's machine, press machine, and we're just seeing the same arguments. Nothing new there. Okay,
So
I
I
do
don't know
want
if you
to
noticed there was
say,
one question having to
yeah,
do
yeah.
with,
Yeah,
okay,
so will AI find its way
hardware as
physically?
opposed to
So
software.
yeah, so we're talking about that. That's embodied AI, and that's a great question. Mm, First, robots, humanoid robots, are moving much more quickly than we expected. They are beating the forecasts that we had for them just 2 years ago. So we're not really sure where they are going to be 2 years from now if the pace keeps accelerating for them as well. I can tell you that in a new research that was released just 2 weeks ago, I think, they created 3 scenarios, and in the moderate scenario for 2030, they already said that, hey, there are some robots there working in the household, and they are doing quite a good job at it. And a majority of the economists that had to vote on which scenario is the most likely, they voted for that scenario. Well, some people already have robots in their in their homes. Personally, I think that it will happen, but I also think that by 2030 we will see some robots in people's homes, but they will be very clunky. They will murder your cat, they will step on the dog, they will throw the baby. We don't want that. But a few years later, those robots will get good enough and proficient and skilled enough and safe enough. And then we're going to essentially, as the Research Institute Rethink X said, we're going to enjoy the lives of kings because we're going to have a robot in our house or maybe just in our building, in our apartment, and that robot can fix the floor for us and can fix the windows for us and can make us dinner and can take the baby to sleep. So we're essentially going to have personal assistants and maids and servants and what's not all the time waiting on our command. I think that's I am willing to buy into that future.
Well,
Just let it come already.
well, we could probably sit for hours with you, but we've just hit the top of the hour, and I just want to thank you so much. This has been absolutely fascinating. Please, everyone, stay tuned because this recording will be circulated so that we can share it with the rest of the community. Anyone who didn't come will have access to the recording. And in 3 weeks' time, we'll welcome Yifat Oron, who heads up Blackstone in Israel, for the next webinar. So thanks, everyone, and have a good night.
Thank you.
Thank you
Have a
very
wonderful night. Thank
much.
you.